Creed. So it's funny. I've actually never seen the first two Creed movies, but I believe it was last night. Last night I watched Creed 3. Something just told me to watch it. I know Creed 3 was going to come out soon, and I was like, you know what? Let me go buy the DVDs real quick, and I'm going to watch the first two so I can watch the third one because the previews for the third one looked really nice. So I was like, let me do that, and I just kind of got distracted and didn't do it. Then I saw a review of Creed 3, and I'm like, what? So I just happened to look at the movie schedule like a day later, and I saw Creed 3 was playing. And I was like, heck, you know what? I feel like today is just a different day to do something different. And so I did. So I went ahead and took a 7 o'clock and went to the movie just to watch it. So first time I saw it, I was a little bit confused. Well, kind of, because I went in knowing that I may be a little confused as to who's who. I don't know even the main characters' names. I didn't know like anybody really, so I wasn't sure who was the main characters, who wasn't. But I liked that because I was able to go into a kind of sequel of a movie or a continuation of a movie without actually knowing the origins of it. So I was able to experience the movie for what it was instead of for what was previously built up into it. And I don't know if I probably have gone through a movie like that before, but I really did kind of like that. I went into the mentality like that. Usually I like to get the most experience out of everything. So I always start from the beginning and go in, but this time I didn't do that. I just went straight to the third one. So yeah, I did miss the first two, and I went to the third one, and it started off interesting, yeah, so it did start off interesting. There was Michael B. Jordan. He was the main character, but he was also the director. I think this was the first movie he actually directed himself. I don't think he directed the first two Creed movies, but he directed this one. So, of course, I'll say that Rocky, Sylvester Stallone, he wasn't in this movie for reasons, I guess, for his own reasons. But Rocky being the main character of Rocky and him not being in this movie, it was like, maybe it was a good thing overall because he has such a gravity to his character in the franchise. And if this Creed movie wanted to give off a certain energy or a certain message or something, or, Rocky's presence may have stolen from a bigger momentum of what the movie was trying to tell. That's just me trying to defend it. I'm not entirely sure if it would or not. But I would say that I was looking forward to seeing Rocky. And I know that it would have been really, really exciting to see Rocky, and just his presence or his character would have introduced an emotion that may not entirely have been present for the rest of the movie, therefore creating maybe a type of conflict with the rest of the movie compared to what he had to offer. So instead of breaking that momentum, it's probably good that he didn't show up. I was looking forward to seeing him, but it is what it is. It's probably better this way overall. When it comes to stars, I will give it a 4 out of 5. Very rare that I give a 5 stars. So it was a really good movie. By itself, not seeing the first two, really good movie. The movie felt like it was missing something, and I don't know what it was. The whole first act was, I want to say, a bit slow. It felt like a kind of a dark corner. Like, okay, what's actually happening right now? The moments were beautiful. Him and his wife, Michael B. Jordan and his wife, those intimate moments were beautiful. They really knew what these situations and what these moments represented for these characters. Even though it was a movie, people really feel these emotions. And the interactions that he had with his wife, and how just the moments that he had with his wife were important, intimate moments. And this movie really focused on the importance of why you love the person that you choose to love, and just the importance of what it is to express that love with them. And so it was good seeing their relationship with his daughter. His daughter had hearing problems. She was deaf, and every moment he had with his daughter was a beautiful moment. There was always silence. There wasn't any talking. It was just, I feel you and you feel me. And the way that they changed the music every time the daughter was around and the father, Michael B. Jordan, were around, and whenever they bonded, and he was there as a teacher, as a guide for his daughter, and just everything that he did for her, with her, not just for her, but with her. Just the moments that they shared were just beautiful. It really reminds the importance of intimacy, of being a parent or being a teacher and teaching somebody something about life. And that goes a little bit more into the movie when his daughter was at school and that bully tore her picture, and then she punched her out, and they're like, yo, are you going to teach your daughter how to fight and the importance of fighting? And so Michael B. Jordan had a one-on-one with his daughter and taught her the importance of fighting. It's not just about violence and getting the upper hand on your opponent. It's more about focus and intention, which is really weird. I just recorded it. But anyway, this is solely about the movie, the message of the movie, not just my personal beliefs. So the movie was talking about the importance of focus and intention when it comes to fighting. And it's not always about just how much can you beat your opponent, how much can you hurt them. So when he was training her at the bag, he was teaching her how every punch that you make, you have to know exactly what it is you're aiming at. You have to know, you have to have control of what it is around you, of what it is you have, of what it is that you wield. And as he was teaching his daughter that, he was teaching her the importance of what it means to fight. Fighting is not just about when we see people beating each other. The true meaning of fighting is something that a lot of martial artists know about and things like that. And it's the foundations of Kung Fu and karate. And Tai Chi. It's about a way of living. And then when conflict shows up, it gets kind of weird and metaphysical. It's kind of weird and metaphysical in that regards. But he was teaching his daughter that. Now, the last scene when he was with his daughter was the scene where Michael B. Jordan's friend came out of jail and he was fighting in the ring. And he was fighting this guy Felix, and he hit this guy in the shoulder, and his daughter was seeing how much he was hurting this guy. And Michael B. Jordan's wife was like, yo, I'm going to go ahead and get our daughter out of here so she doesn't see this. Michael B. Jordan was saying how him teaching his daughter something and then her witnessing the side that he was teaching her not to do, that was an interesting dynamic, especially for a parent or a father to witness. And I liked how they handled that situation. They didn't focus too much on that, but it was, if you are a parent, they did bring that up, that those feelings are there, that when you're trying to teach your child, and those were the moments with his daughter. His wife. So his wife, Tessa Thompson, she was really good in her role. She was very good in her role and how she acted. And even when Michael B. Jordan got angry and he got aggressive and he was yelling and he was drinking, even through all of that rage, when he was secretive with her, when he wouldn't open up to her, and she wasn't being too pushy about it, but she just pushed him enough because he was getting a bit too consumed by his emotions as the movie went on, because his past was coming back, and it was a past that he wanted to forget, but it was coming back to haunt him, and old feelings of anger, his rage, all of that was starting to come back to the surface. He was trying to bury it bury it, but he was showing symptoms that were slipping through the cracks. And she was like, yo, I need to know what's going on because I actually love you and I want to be a part of you. And I want to be a part of your growth and who you are and who you're becoming. They were one entity. They were married. And when you are married, you become one entity. Your feelings become each other's feelings. And you have to stick with each other through it all. You have to know how to be submissive with each other. And it does get hard because you can't really control other people. And you can do your part, but it can seem very strange when the other person doesn't do their part. This movie really shows the importance of when you are in both of those situations, when you have to be the submissive one, when you have to be the one to say, I forgive you, and be the one to say, it's okay, I understand why you did what you did. Or to be the one to say, I understand, But it also shows you when you are on the other side of that spectrum, and you have to be the one to take, not consideration, can't think of the word right now, accountability. You have to take accountability of those moments that you are wrong or when you've done something bad. One of the strongest scenes was when Michael B. Jordan was with his mom. And I guess his mom had a stroke in the last movie or something. And they were afraid that she was going to have another stroke in this movie. And she ended up having a stroke in this third movie. And it was right after the scene where Michael B. Jordan's friend from prison was sending him letters for about 18 years or so, 20 years. And his mom was keeping them hidden because she was like, no, I don't want you. I didn't want you to be involved with him. So I held all the letters from you and never told you that he was writing you all these years. So Michael B. Jordan's friend was in prison, and he was like, he thought that his best friend abandoned him. Like, he went to prison because of Michael B. Jordan, and he lost 20 years of his life, and he was writing him letters because they were brothers, and he was never writing back. And Michael B. Jordan talked to his mom. His mom was like, oh yeah, he's been writing you for 20 years, but I just never told you about these letters. So when Michael B. Jordan's friend finally came out of prison, sorry about that. When Michael B. Jordan's friend finally came out of prison, he was like, yo, you didn't write me back. You left me. I was all alone and I needed you and everything. And he was pretty messed up about that. And then Michael B. Jordan yelled at his mom and he was like, yo, that wasn't your decision to make. It's like, she was like, no, I tried to protect you. First of all, you cannot protect somebody from a trial that they are going to have in their own lifetime, whether you want to accept it or not. That's something a lot of parents have to understand, is that their children are human beings, they're people, they're going to go through problems. And the more that you try to suppress them or suppress issues or trials that they need to overcome, the more harder you're going to make their life, the more you're going to hold them back from being able to grow and live as much of a good life as they possibly can. We have a limited amount of time. The more you keep secrets from them, the longer it's going to take before they start that trial, the longer it's going to take for them to overcome it. Just going to get that out of the way. So that was another message in that movie when he was talking to his mom. So anyway, right after that scene, she ended up having a stroke and she ended up passing away. When Michael B. Jordan had to meet with his, I want to call him Kang, but I know he's not Kang. When he had to meet with his friend that got out of prison, and they had to confront each other. It was like, you left me, and because you left me, I'm out of prison, and you lived my dream and became a boxing champion. I'm gonna have to fight you, and I want to become champion. When they faced off about that, and Michael B. Jordan, he never mentioned, I'm sorry, I never wrote you back. My mom kept the letters from me. He never mentioned to his friend that his mom kept the letters, and that's why he never wrote back. The truth is, no matter what excuse you have to make, he knew that he had the ability to choose to reach out. Even if someone else reaches out first, or you you always have the choice to reach out first, even if the other person doesn't. And 20 years went by, and he wasn't going to use that excuse of saying, oh, it was my mom's fault for what she did. No, it was his fault because he chose not to send a letter to his friend, even though his friend did send letters and he never got them and never responded. He could have still wrote first, even if never receiving those letters first. A little bit kind of confusing, but just know that you can always make the first choice. I did like that Michael B. Jordan didn't make any excuses for his behavior. He never did make any excuses for every wrong decision that he made. He owned up to it, but it was the people around him that were like, hey, we understand, and you have to understand that you were a different person when you made these decisions. And you have to understand that. And you have to forgive yourself based on that. His wife was with him with that. And his buddy, his friend, his guy from prison, at the end of the movie, understood that when he was like, you let me go to jail for 20 years and you left me there. And Michael B. Jordan was like, yo, when I ran away from that situation, the cops got you. I got away and I just kept running from all my problems. And the dude was like, I'm sorry for what I did in the past, and I was wrong for that. And his friend was like, you know what, you're going to have to forgive yourself because even though I blame you for what happened, we were still just kids. Our minds were different. Who we were different. What we felt and why we made choices were different. And we are older and we know that we can make different choices in the same circumstances. Just because we made the best decision that we knew how to at that point in time, that doesn't mean we have to hold on to it or make it bad for our future. Of course, I'm just kind of paraphrasing how that scene went, but that's what he said. It was just in different words. I really enjoyed that aspect about owning up to a situation and owning up, and not finding excuses to get out of when you did something wrong, but know when you're wrong, but also knowing how to forgive yourself, to live the life that you've worked hard for, to live the life that you know you deserve, but for whatever reason have a limited belief that you don't deserve it. And I mean the good things about what you deserve, because we all deserve a good life. All of us do, no matter what wrong thing we did. It's always just a mistake that we haven't forgiven ourselves for, that we have to learn to forgive ourselves for, because we were a different person back then. Anyway, not to sound repetitive. So I talked about his daughter. I talked about his wife and the dynamic of let me see. I guess the last two things I can talk about when it comes to this movie, and what I really liked about it, what I really enjoyed, was Michael B. Jordan's buddy when he came out of prison. He did a really good job with his acting. He was terrifying. Like he was convincing in his role all the way through, and it was a really good thing. It was a nice thing. Watching their fight at the end of the movie, it was so weird because when his homie called him out and was like, hey, you know what, we're on national television and you put your family behind, like you're not real at all. You leave people behind. You don't really love people. And I'm challenging you on national TV, blah, 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 blah. And Michael B. Jordan was like, fine, I accept, I'll fight you. It was a weird spiritual dynamic of the devil tempting a man who has found peace being tempted by a devil from the past. And it was so weird because when I watched the movie, that's the first thing that actually came to mind. I didn't think about it. I wasn't looking at it from a spiritual perspective or a religious perspective. That's just what I felt in that moment. And it was so strong. Like, oh, this is actually the devil using his friend's voice to tempt him into going back in the ring and fighting again. Because in this movie, Creed was actually retired from fighting. He wasn't actually fighting. So anyway, so he was like, okay, fine, then we're gonna go. I'm gonna go out of retirement. I'm gonna go and fight you, and then we're gonna handle this. And they're just like, no, you have a family. You're at whatever. So as they were fighting at the end of the movie, there were different musical numbers that were playing. Music numbers that revolved around Michael B. Jordan and his training and his introduction were a lot more about Black society, what we evolved into, and what he wants to focus on when it comes to his future and bettering his future and all the great things that he has achieved. And then when you go into his friend and John, I think his name was Jonathan, the actor's name was Jonathan. Damien, okay, so Damien was his, which again is symbolic because Damien was I believe this a son of the devil also, so that name Damien was also symbolic too. So, and also when it showed Damien's musical numbers in the movie, it was more about the hood and having chains and all the things that a lot of new age rappers try to keep Black youth's mind stuck in about drugs and being a gangster and things like that. Both were rap genre in how the music were made, but the lyrics talked about something completely different versus accomplishment and family, and on the other side being about drugs and the hood and things of violence and things like that. So I thought that was interesting. And also at the end when they fought, Michael B. Jordan had white gloves, which really stood out, and Damien had black gloves. The colors, the colors that they used for their designs for the characters for their fight at the end of the movie seemed very on the nose too. So I'm like, okay, it can't just be me that notices this weird devil, light and dark sort of thing. So I was watching. So I'm watching it, and they're fighting, and the fight was going pretty good. The fight, I really did enjoy the fight. And then at one point, everything just goes black and everything goes quiet. And they have this weird CGI moment where like the ring is CGI, and as they're boxing and as they're fighting, the ring is like morphing into like a jail cell, into like different memories that they had of each other. And Michael B. Jordan was getting beat up a little bit because he was like, he felt pretty guilty and ashamed of what happened with his friend and him leaving his friend to go to jail like that and everything. And his coach was like, yo, you have to let that go. Like, you have to understand that what you are fighting right now, this is a shadow of your past. This may be your friend physically, but internally he represents a shadow from your past. And you cannot submit to that shadow. You have to understand the truth of what this fight symbolizes and what this fight means. And at one point, at one point I thought Michael B. Jordan was going to throw the fight to let his friend be a champion and have his dream. But no, Michael B. Jordan was like, the true fight was not about the championship. The true fight was about the souls of these two internal souls fighting each other and struggling with each other of betrayal and love and forgiveness and imprisonment versus freedom, and you living a life that I gave up for you and you leaving me behind. It was so many emotions that went on in that last fight. And at the end of it, Michael B. Jordan was like, he could not submit to the shadow of his past, and he did have to win the fight at the end of the movie. And once the fight was over, him and Damien sat in the locker room and they had their discussion. And, Damien understood. He was like, my bad, I'm sorry. And he was like, I'm sorry about what happened as a kid and me leaving you and stuff. And he had to say, you gotta forgive yourself. Like, that wasn't on you. We was just kids, man. We we are all guilty of this, where this is the last thing I'll say before I go. When we have a bond with somebody, a lot of times we give them a piece of ourselves. And to make it simple and short, we give a piece of our life, we give a piece of our light to another person's darkness. And until that other person is willing to let that darkness go, sometimes we don't always get our light back. That is a truth that we just have to learn to acknowledge. Because we try so hard to be empowered. We try so hard to say, I'm independent, I got this, I'm strong, I'm tough. And we fail to see how we're codependent on other people and how we need other people for our healing. Sometimes it's because pieces of our soul is trapped within another person. And sometimes just sitting down with this person, reconnecting with that person is enough to bring that piece of your soul back to you. If someone wants to go, let them go. If someone wants to be forgiven for something, forgive them. Let their soul be at peace. Don't let your anger, don't let your hatred, don't let whatever vendetta you have against them be the thing that seals a light that they have to let them be free. Don't do that. Don't be that person. If they need you to forgive them for a mistake that they made for the past, do it, move on, bond with them, love them until that day comes that you or the other person dies. And it's just that simple. You never know when someone's going to die. You never know how much time you have with a person. And life should never be lived on the foundation of someone dying. It should always be lived on the foundation that we are in this moment together and we can share beautiful times together. I think that's how life should be lived. But everyone is like, life is too short. That's a negative foundation. Just enjoy people while they're here and be free doing it. Love people as much as you can. Invest as much as you can into them that they let you, that you're willing to. And when you invest all of yourself into a person, all the good parts of yourself into them, and if they don't invest it back into you, then they weren't the right one. And once you let yourself be free with them, you can let yourself be free to leave them. And there will be no resistance, or there will be very little resistance. Anyway, so I give this movie a 4 out of 5. It was a great movie. Again, it was Creed 3. That's just the experience that I had with the movie. My experience with the movie is about the feeling of what it means. It's never just the plot. So that's just what I got from Creed 3. It was a great movie. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a good family movie. The music probably had the most F words or N words in it, not the actual dialogue. So if it's rated PG-13 or R, I'm not entirely sure, but the music is probably more rough than the actual movie itself. So the movie wasn't too bad, but it's very strong lessons, very strong feelings in it. Don't be afraid to walk through darkness. God's on your side. God is always that light. God is always that freedom. God is an internalized thing. For those of you who understand what I'm talking about, then you know what I'm talking about. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then just ignore it. But you're not alone. God's with you. He's with you. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this movie review, and I hope you have a great time. Yeah. 4 out of 5 stars.